From beyond the farthest reaches of our galaxy they come. Two brains pulsing with a strange energy. These space brains come to share their love of science fiction movies.
And welcome to Space Brains, the show where we joy watch sci-fi movies and then talk about what was good and what was great. I'm Surrey and this is Mark.
Hiya, tonight we're talking about Shanghai Fortress. It's a 2019 movie, so consider this your spoiler warning.
If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. Go back and watch it. It's a very new film. It's a Chinese film, so you probably want to get your subtitle reading skills up to scratch.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's got lots of space bits in it.
It is. It's very sci-fi. You know,
not space bits. I suppose it comes from space. Aliens and shooting and whatnot.
Big explosions, this kind of thing. In fact, we were just saying it kind of is a little bit of, probably a bit of homage to Independence Day, this film.
Yeah, the main spaceship is circular and it shoots a big laser at the bottom of it.
Got a big laser. So there's a lot of real high-tech, futuristic human inventions to sort of save Shanghai.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. So what's your number one takeaway from Shanghai Fortress, Surrey?
Number one takeaway is it's good to die.
It sure is. Or to sacrifice oneself for the team, I think.
It's all about the self-sacrifice, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it's a really interesting thing. We did do The Wandering Earth. Go back and listen to that episode if you haven't, which is another Chinese film. And there's definitely something about these Chinese films, you know, about teamwork and cooperation and working together and surviving them, you know, against the odds as a team. Whereas, you know, when we look at a lot of Western films, I think we tend, even in this same sort of genre or this same scenario, you know, end of the world things, we tend to look for someone to save us, like one person, a hero.
Yeah, and I think also the other thing I noticed, same with The Wandering Earth, was that when they were in official capacities, people were very rigid.
They were, weren't they? Yeah.
So when in Shanghai Fortress, when the four, I suppose, main characters were out of uniform on their own, they were informal. They were just like a bunch of friends hanging around talking about stuff. But when they were in their training, they're in the uniform, doing the training, it was all just no nonsense, just talking about business. There was no smart talk. There was no Will Smith character. You know, it was all just, and that was the same in The Wandering Earth.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
When they had their duty to do, they did their duty.
It's like almost every role in society does their duty, no matter what. And I like in this, we'll get into the plot a bit later, but you know, like there is that moment where they evacuate Shanghai, and it's like evacuate peacefully and orderly, and everyone does.
Yeah, they all do.
Whereas, like, you know, you can take these other movies like Independence Day or even War of the Worlds, and in America, set in America, and everyone like basically pushes and shoves each other out of the way, and you know, you end up with that, you know, the cars strewn along a freeway, stuck in traffic, and everyone toots their horn. Like, that wouldn't happen in China. They would all just exit very proficiently, apparently. So,
see, I wonder how much of that is kind of the ideal they put forward in movies versus reality. I imagine it's probably
it's in between those two.
It's probably like the Western movies are
exaggerating that fear
exaggerated.
A bit, you know?
So there is kind of in the Western movies, in Western society, I suppose, there is kind of a this concept of exceptionalism where it's the exceptional people, the heroes, that tend to stand out above everyone else. And it's not quite like it is in the movies where there's, you know, they'd like to tell us that there's one person. If you look at it like Apollo 11, that movie, or I suppose Space Cowboy or something, there was definitely heroes involved. But I think it was a far more realistic portrayal of events. And so whilst there were exceptional people doing things, they wouldn't have been doing it without the support of a great big team.
Yeah. And
so I think the same maybe these Chinese ones, they tend to push this group work, teamwork to the extreme where you probably would get a bit bit of a dial back on that, you'd still get, your exceptional members standing up and leading.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I guess they just don't celebrate it in the same way.
No, I mean,
in the movies anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, from our impression of Chinese efficiency and things like that, I mean, that's the impression their culture gives us, but it doesn't mean that then on the ground there's not people whinging and complaining about it, and so this is a movie version of it. So of course they're just kind of a bit of propaganda in a way. I'm not saying the movie's propaganda, but it's propaganda to the culture, isn't it?
You do have to wonder how much of that there is in movies, not just Chinese movies.
No, in all movies.
Because I know that there's a number of US movies that get funded by the Department of Defense.
Definitely, yep.
And to get your Department of Defense funding, you have to portray military sequences and the military in certain ways.
Yep.
They're not unreasonable ways. They're not totally brainwashing us, but they certainly do have certain requirements with what you are and aren't allowed to show the military doing.
Show it in a particular light, don't they?
Yes.
And they'll give you some money to do that. Yeah.
For example, they probably don't want you to show the waterboarding and torture scenes.
No, they'll avoid that part.
Which it's we all like to pretend that our armies and so forth don't get involved in any of that, but hey,
that's all right.
People get excitable in stressful situations, and
they do,
and take excitable measures. And so I imagine the Chinese movie, certainly from what we know of their government, you'd imagine they would definitely have it would be a lot easier for a big budget Chinese film to get made and promoted if it showed the Chinese culture in a positive way.
Well, and I don't know enough. Look, I'll put up my hand. I'm naive about the funding model of films like this. I actually did read that they expected this was going to be a huge blockbuster, this film, as big as The Wandering Earth.
Right, it's got the special effects. And
the expectation was the same. But I don't really know. I mean, there's a bunch of Chinese production companies that, you see at the start of the film that are behind it, but I'm not sure who's funding that, deeper than that, So I'm very naive to that. I'd have to look in and research that. But, so you don't even know how much this is government sanctioned, or is it actually their film industry just growing, and making something like this very organically.
Well, of course, the other thing is that every culture likes to watch their own heroes be good. I mean,
you don't want to...
How many US films have portrayed the US actions as being heroic and brave and valiant, when reality would show a more balanced view of those conflicts?
That's right. And you imagine sometimes,
but not Australia. Like Australian war films. 100% Australia is absolutely the best.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure.
But the funny thing is, isn't it? It's like, so this film, the Chinese kind of save the day. It's the last remaining city, and they're fighting them. So they're the saved one. But then, you take so many of those other Western films. America's the one that saves the day, right? So,
Independence Day comes to mind. The whole and today, the July 4th will be everyone's Independence Day. And when I heard that, I just groaned and almost died inside. I went, "Get over yourselves, chintzy, please! Come on." It's like what we should turn up to America and say them on January 26th, and everyone will see today as Australia Day.
But I never the thing is, you watch a film like this and I think, well, the Chinese might save the day. Like, it makes a shitload of sense. But then it's like, and the Americans might save the day. I sort of buy into the propaganda. If we had this alien invasion, we probably would. But in reality, it probably would be some sort of unified front, wouldn't it? Like that. Every nation would chuck something at it, but it would never be Australia saves the actual day. But we might have a scientist that comes up with something that kind of, is the technology that saves the day. But it wouldn't be us that would save the day that same way.
We kind of don't have the population for it.
We don't have the population. We don't have the numbers. But that's why, what was the Has film, The Beyond. And I mean, that was in England and that, but they sort of did do that, didn't they? It was like, there was a Russian, and there was the American astronauts, and there was the English, the European space station. And so it was a unified front, and I think that would be more reality, wouldn't it?
Well, everyone would want a piece of it.
Yeah, everyone would.
It would be like, if aliens rocked up, basically every government would say, we can't afford to have our nation not be a part of this in some way. That's right. Because it's going to be too big a deal.
Yes.
To miss out on. So you get funding. It's just like when you come up with the next great podcast, and every nation just has to be a part of it.
Just has to be listening to Spacebrains. That's right.
Yeah, very much like that. So tell me, is this a hope, a warning, or an experiment?
I think it's hope. I think it's humanity will prevail. I'm seeing a bit of a theme in some of these, an ongoing theme now, in these science fiction films, that humanity does overcome this superpower.
Particularly these big sort of blockbustery size films. It's a very popular thing.
It's a very popular kind of ending that, of course, humanity, we give it everything, and hopefully, as we said before, this spoiler, but at the end of this, Shanghai is in ruins, and so is most of the mega cities around the world, as they say. But they've given it everything, so huge population losses, mass destruction, but humanity does prevail somehow.
Absolutely.
So I think hope. I'm definitely in the hope.
Yeah, it really is a bit of a hope, but although there's a bit of a warning there, because the whole reason these aliens turned up, and we don't get much background on this. This movie's based off a book. I'm wondering if the book has a bit more depth in this. It's just this Zhang Yan, is that what it's called? Power supply.
Yeah.
This crystal power supply that they got from space. They didn't elaborate on that, and the aliens have turned up presumably to capture or destroy this.
Yeah, they want a piece of it.
That in itself made me curious. I was going, well, is that because we think it's a power source, but it's really
something else?
Maybe it's their historical archives.
That's right.
And
just give us back our bones.
And they store their historical archives in these crystals as energy, and you read it back by basically having them energize some sort of playback device.
Yeah, that's right.
But we wasteful humans are just draining the energy out and thus destroying the knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's a very topical issue for China, and then also obviously for the rest of the world, but this idea of an energy source. And I think there's a bit of politicalness to the fact that they're China harnessed this power source. It's very. I agree with you. It's so brief at the start of the film. I would have liked maybe a bit more explanation or a little bit more.
It was the important motivator for the aliens.
That's right, yeah. But it would have been nice to maybe develop that a little bit more, I think, at the start. I was interested. I was like, oh, okay. And they sort of said, this power source means you don't have to rely upon coal or oil, And I was like, oh, that's very topical.
That is probably important to the Chinese, because they've got to import a lot. A lot of Australian gas and coal, as it turns out.
Yeah.
But
unlike some countries, Australia, they're really developing things like solar and wind and other energy sources far beyond what anyone expected, and they're also going to have a smart power grid within the next 2 years, which everyone in the West said, it'll take China 10 years to create. So they're really right now. Their government is shifting a lot of their power, around because they have to. They're huge population. They're the ones that need to make some quick decisions. But it wouldn't surprise me if at the next thing you know, you hear that China's mining something on an asteroid, like you've talked about.
Well, they've been sending they're trying to send people up to the moon.
Yeah.
That's sort of part of a way of, I guess, stamping their place, their mark on history.
Yep.
And they do have the advantage of having an authoritarian government.
Yeah, of course. So you can work together.
One thing they don't have to worry too much about being voted in.
Yeah, that's right.
Which, the bad side of that, of course, is obvious.
Yes.
The good side of it means that they can just sort of say, well, you know what, we need an enormous hydroelectric scheme to prevent flooding and also provide power.
Yeah.
And so they just evacuate a whole bunch of villages and so forth and flood, the Three Gorges Dam is this huge dam that they built so quickly.
Yeah.
And they could do that because they could just send the army and just clear everyone out, build the thing,
and just
resettle them, and so there's 130 or 300,000 people who are pissed off about that, and they go, well,
get on with it.
Go somewhere that you can vote. Then.
Which you can't.
Yeah, you can't. Too bad. Just see what Hong Kong has to say about voting.
Yeah. So it's an interesting political environment, but the film doesn't really get into that. But I thought that was.
But I think one of the strongest motivators or ways of moving towards a global peace, in fact, would be plentiful energy.
Yeah.
Because one of our main reasons we fight is for energy sources. Of course. We can synthetically create petrol, and gas and diamonds and most things if you have enough electricity at command. And of course, ironically, we use oil and so forth to make that. But if we had, fusion generator or some mystical crystal that just generated lots of energy, or Superman cranking a hand generator, you wouldn't have these sorts of fights.
No, you wouldn't, of
course
not.
You could desalinate all the water you wanted. You could, create whatever synthetic materials you needed from base carbon and hydrogen.
Yep.
And off you go.
That's right.
Everything's very little reason to fight. In fact, when you start moving to automation and automated factories and computer and design and all the rest of it, you almost start moving into the Star Trek style post-scarcity environment.
Yeah.
Where you can just, you've got so much energy on hand that you can run incredibly expensive factories to create whatever you want, and they barely need anyone to look over. So you've got all these people with leisure time now contributing, their art and their science and their whatever to society.
Yeah, well, you're moving up that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, aren't you? So the higher you move up that, the more you're in the pleasure and the arts and the crafts and all those kind of things, rather than the desperate, I need food, water, shelter, so, and humanity's then different, it's a different fight.
I think we did see a bit of that in this movie, because this movie was about, so let's go. And so we start off learning that Earth has come into possession of a power source, which is very powerful.
Actually, we probably should just say, who made this film? I've got it here.
Oh my God.
So it's not a name that's easy to pronounce. It's so the director was Huatao Teng, and then the screenplay was by Jinglong Han, and then the original story and screenplay was also by Jiang Nan. Probably got them totally wrong. Do you want to have a crack at pronouncing those names? We're not even good at Western name pronunciation, so we never know. So
I work with a Chinese guy, and when he says names,
they say them.
So there's a girl at work.
They say them normally, don't they?
there's a girl at work. I know her as Kay.
Yeah,
and I can't pronounce, because it's this tonal sort of
that's right,
inflection, which is totally alien to English.
Yeah,
like we don't have that type of sound, and so I've tried saying these names the way he says it, and he's just like keeps correcting me a little bit, and he ends up just going,
just call me Max.
Yeah, it's just stay with K. It's like just.
Well, because I'm the same, because I deal with a lot of Chinese and even also Indonesians and Thai, and again, quite often you pronounce their name a couple of times, and then they say, "Call me Jack." Like they just they're like, "You're never going to get it." So just call. Here's the
you
English.
poor white boy. Just call me Jack.
You're never going to get.
I'll put you out of your misery.
Phonetics on it. So anyway, I did have a go at their names, and it is a 2019 film. And Netflix, which I like this because there is some negative reviews around this film. Like we said, they expected it to be as big as The Wandering Earth, and it didn't quite do that at the Chinese box office. Netflix has come on board, bought the distribution rights, streaming it, available now. And for the rest of the world to kind of give a bit of an opinion on it. And that's why we've jumped on board, haven't we?
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. It's got, blockbuster graphics, and it's got, the soaring musical bits.
It does.
An exciting final sequence.
Some quite good acting as well. I thought the acting was really great. We'll come back to that a bit later.
Strong actors
and
in there.
Incredible CGI.
And of course we had the sad news that Godfrey Gao.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
The actor who played Yang Jianan, as I understand it, he was the motorcycle loving guy.
Yeah, right, okay.
And he died tonight. While just not long before we recorded this, in fact, he was pronounced dead after collapsing on a game show. He was running.
Unbelievable.
Some sort of cardiac issue. 3 hours in hospital, couldn't resuscitate him.
Wow.
So,
and he puts in a good performance in Shanghai Fortress. So I think
he played Ken in Toy Story 3.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So we know him.
We know him from a Western movie.
Yes. Also because I got kids and I've watched that movie a few times now. Yes.
All right. So let's go. Sorry, I cut you off before. Let's start with the plot point.
Okay. So
as you said at the start, what's going on with the planet?
We're told that we as in Earth has come into possession of this power source.
Yep.
What was it called? It's called
Zeng
Zheng Yan or
Yang.
something.
I was just always a bit confused by that name throughout this, but it must have meant something. No, I don't think they ever explained what it meant.
No, not really. It's power source. These sort of
they got it from space.
Blue glowing crystals that came from space.
Yeah.
We're not told any more about that. And then we're told that aliens rocked up. A mothership turned up.
And they were interested in this energy
and
source.
They're just going to every big city that has this energy source in it and destroying it.
And we see that. We see them sort of destroy New York, is it? Or California or something? Some big city like that. We actually see...
like a big Western city, like an American city. And
San Francisco, one of those big American iconic cities.
And then they blow... Yeah, it's so iconic, we know it.
Yeah. Can't remember it actually now. It's funny. But it's just a really quick moment of a newsreader talking and it blows
through
up.
India and takes out Delhi and then...
And so we come in on this Chinese military training module of this, what are they called? The Grey Eagle Squad.
Grey Eagle Squadron.
Yeah, and they're four young Chinese, 3 guys, 1 girl, and they're in sort of those game machines that you find at an arcade or like what we call time zone. And they're flying drones electronically through their headsets, kind of VR style, aren't they? And they're fighting the aliens, but it's just a simulation.
Yeah.
And and they're drones. That's right. They keep talking about drones, and they sort of fight so the planes are out there fighting these aliens, and the aliens. What are the aliens like? They're
we never see
robotic, aren't they?
We don't actually know if they're just drones because we're fighting them with drones.
Yeah, that's right. So are they just drones?
We don't know if they're just the drones, or if the aliens are actually artificial intelligent or hybrids of some sort. We don't really get to see that, but we do very quickly learn that the main character there is
Jai Young.
Yeah, Jiang Nan. No, that's the dude who wrote the book.
It's Jai Young, isn't it?
Oh my goodness me! Look, quick. We need to have
it's Jai Yang. That's what I'm going for.
Yang,
he's the main character.
Yang.
Yeah.
I'm going to call him Yang.
Okay, Yang.
Yes. I'm terribly sorry. I really apologize.
Sorry. I tell you what, if you are Chinese out there, get in touch and we will correct up our pronunciation. Yeah, you can give us some lessons.
We'll record you saying each of the names and then I'll just dub that over top of this.
We'll do some dubbing.
Yeah. So anyway, Yang, we find out he's got the hots for the commander, Lin Lang, the commander woman who's
she's in charge
training their squadron. Yeah. So personally, I think that's a bit inappropriate that he's got the hots for teacher, but
that's okay. She is hot.
She is hot.
She is good looking,
and she doesn't reciprocate. They're very businesslike.
No, she's very businesslike.
Very businesslike.
And sorry.
So it's her birthday, and so he's in the lift with her, and you can hear him talking to himself. He's thinking, I've got to give her the present.
I've got her a little present.
This is it. This is my chance to talk to her. And he just sort of takes his breath to sort of talk, and the lift doors open. She steps out, and she meets this other dude there.
Yeah, the guy that fires the cannon.
Yeah, the cannon firing guy.
Which is the...
that's Godfrey
the guy.
Gao.
Yeah, the guy that unfortunately passed away.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
But... So, and he gives her like a big box of roses, whereas he had just he has like a little yellow flower, and he's got a big box of roses, and they walk on, and so he's crushed. And he goes home,
and we learn in all this that Shanghai is the last remaining big city that all the other cities around the world seem to have been destroyed. Shanghai is holding steady because it has this shield.
Great big force field over it.
Yeah. So it's this great big shield around it, and there's this great character, the general. I really liked him. He was very stoic the whole time. He's a hardened, battled general. Not that we really know how many battles China has been in over these years, but he just seemed to know his shit, that guy. Like, he exuded confidence in the situation.
He was appropriately experienced.
Yeah.
You didn't think that he'd risen to the ranks by accident.
Nah, this guy had come from the bottom to the top, I reckon. He worked his way up there.
So Yang, he goes back and meets up with his buddies.
Yep.
He goes back and repairs his flower. He's a bit sad, and we learn that he's
really longing for
he
Vinland.
is, and he's like looking out the window, and he
debates texting. Writes a text.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he deletes
the
it,
good night.
and he
I
rewrites
hope you
it,
do it well.
And then he started with like, didn't I do well today? And then he was deleted, and he's like, did you think I did well? Delete.
Was I okay?
Was I okay? Delete. How was today?
Yeah.
She's like, good night.
It was really good because
I liked that scene.
It is that kind of that thoughts you go through and you're like, this is impressive. Yeah, I was so good. And you look at it and you go, nah, that's not right. No, that's not right.
Well, it's telling us something that, he's not super confident, is he? He's not going to send her a dick pic, I don't think, is he? He's like,
especially not with that old school phone.
No, he has a weird phone for the fact that this, I didn't realise, it doesn't really state it, but looking up online, it is supposed to be 2035. So it's a bit more futuristic, but his phone is a bit old school.
I could only think that maybe it was a hardened military phone.
Yeah.
Because it had a very rugged looking case to it.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of thinking, how like Aussie tradespeople have that, they can buy that like brick phone still now. It's like, it's indestructible kind of thing. It's not really a smartphone, it's just a phone.
Just a phone.
You can drop a ton of concrete on it and you still dig it out.
Eat it with your pie.
That's right. So the chief lets them know that the smoke covering Shanghai is New Delhi. It's the destruction of New Delhi.
Oh, yes.
Which, if anyone knows their geography, India's pretty damn close to Shanghai. And it's mentioned that he says 3,600 soldiers were all killed in the battle. And Lin Lan is ready to fight.
Yes.
She's ready. And that's what I liked about Lin Lan. She was, this love thing was going on. She was showing nothing in return. But then when it was with the general, she was very, very efficient in her job, she was committed to the cause. I liked it. I liked her character.
Yeah, it was very good in that she was not frivolous at all.
No.
Or what do you call it? Silly. She was definitely a professional soldier, and she was there to do her job. We didn't really learn anything more about her, actually.
No. Again, there's no backstory.
Yeah, I guess we learnt that she was in the same graduating class as the
motorcycle guy, yeah.
Cannon firing dude. Yeah, let's get a story straight.
The motorcycle guy was another guy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But it was the cannon dude
The cannon dude, yeah.
Because he asked about her relationship with him because he saw that rose exchange. No, they're just friends. They graduated together.
They graduated together. They were part of the same era.
And that was... But yeah, we'll get to that. That comes a bit later.
So there's a code red.
There's a code red.
Code red.
Hurrah.
And the mothership is coming over Shanghai now. And it starts firing its laser at the shield. And the shield kind of holds its ground for a little bit.
Yeah, little bits of holes open
then
because
the holes
they
start opening up.
It shoots its predator drones down, which are these balls that go tumbling through and they pop out as these four-armed robot things.
And I liked that because it had the holes sort of formed in the shield, and those drones were flying down, but some of them missed, and they were annihilated, by the shield. So it was cool because it sort of set up the premise that if the shield's complete, they can't get through. So it was a clever little plot.
Shanghai does have a fighting chance.
Yeah, they have a fighting. This thing is pretty strong, this shield. So I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So they launched all their drones.
Yep.
To counteract the alien drones.
Yep.
And the drones are these sort of sleek-looking fighter things. They shoot missiles, and it really reminded me of some of the anime I've seen. In particular, I was thinking of the Robotech Macross saga. I don't know if you've seen it. That's way back in the 80s.
Yep.
It's actually really good. It's a bit of a cult movie. Or a series. It was. But anyway, it's that same sort of fighting where there's these aircraft zipping and rolling and turning, and missiles with their trails flying everywhere and exploding, and
the Grey Eagle squadron get into their things and they send up their drones and they're flying and they're shooting and all that sort of stuff.
It's tremendously exciting. And these predator things, as they land, some of them get down to the ground and start wreaking a bit of havoc. But they decide they've got to reveal their weapon.
Yep.
And so
just before that, there's because Jai Young, he's not there. He's on the street, remember? It's his day off. And so he's wandering around the street, and these things start landing and fire, and he saves a little girl.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah, and so he grabs the little girl.
Oh,
and
that's
then
right. Yeah.
And then one of these things has landed, and it's like, it's actually not like the other, it's big.
Yeah,
it's
the
a
big
real, and like the soldiers come running out and they're shooting it, but the bullets are doing nothing.
Yeah.
And it sort of comes towards him and the little girl, and then all of a sudden this laser that I believe...
They call it artillery.
Yeah, artillery.
Yeah.
But then I believe, I might have got this confused, but I think Linlan is like controlling this thing, this big laser tank. Comes flying around and blows the predator out of nothing. Yeah.
Blows it away. It's very exciting.
It is very exciting. So in that context, the humans have kind of... And then they seal the shield back up.
The seal the shield, they get the cannon prepped?
No, they don't do the cannon in that moment.
Don't they do that? When do they do the cannon?
The cannon is like the midpoint of the story. In that first attack, they didn't do the...
Were there 3 attacks? I mean, I only watched this 2 days ago.
Yeah, there was. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
It's just my memory. This is what happens when you become an old man.
They sort of managed to seal... That giant predator was the day, and then they sealed it up. They sealed the shield back up.
Yeah, they sealed the shield up.
Yeah.
The
humans win the battle.
The thing flew away.
Yeah.
It got bored.
The mothership was a bit like, come on. I just want my grandma back. You know, she's in those crystals.
Yeah, I want my grandma crystals.
You guys have got some serious defense here. This is going to be painful. That's why I like that movie, that kids movie, Monsters vs. Aliens. And there's like the aliens like got the big brain and the really powerful spaceship, and he gets like really frustrated that they're like the way the humans are thinking about everything is just annihilate them. Anyway, totally different movie.
Okay, so we get another little interlude here where
the council debate.
That's this wonderful some white dude with a deep and powerful voice, but he was dubbed.
He was dubbed. I know. So was he speaking Chinese in the original version? He must have.
Yeah, because I had the original. Netflix told me I had the original Chinese Mandarin with English subtitles.
Yeah.
But clearly, this guy's mouth was moving. Different words were coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was the whole council there.
And they debate that they should use the cannon to kind of get rid of it completely. And the general's like, but if you use the power on the cannon, like everything's everything's going to be a bit disrupted. So they kind of debate that a little bit. Actually, yeah. And this cannon is living underwater. It's something underwater somewhere, isn't it?
We haven't seen it revealed yet. It's just this secret weapon has been talked about. This cannon.
Yeah, and so they use the alien energy to both power the shield and the cannon, but he's figured out that you can't do both at the same time, basically.
Yeah, and it sort of makes sense. You probably got to drop the shield anyway to fire the cannon. Otherwise, you're going to shoot your own shield.
Shield your own shield, yeah. Then we have a nice kind of, human element, which is the Grey Eagle Squadron. So they discuss their future.
They're sitting up on the rooftop or something.
Yeah, having some Coke and chips or something.
Yeah.
And,
I'm going to ride my motorcycle with my wife.
Yeah.
And humorously enough, he has a dream later on where, in fact, he's on the back seat and his wife is driving the motorbike. Yeah. And he says, hey, why am I sitting back here? And she says, because it's your dream, silly. So we get this insight, in fact, that he's not the big tough bad boy that perhaps he'd like us to think.
Yeah, that's right. And then with that, there's another attack on the shield, and I think it's the Nanpu Bridge is under attack. Is where the shield's been attacked, and so they decide, send all their resources there, get it all ready. Should we use the cannon? Should we not? And then they realize. The people at the cannon, the guys working on it, realize that they kind of have a moment of thinking, this is a trap. So they kind of
why
hang
are
on,
they making everyone go to that one spot?
Yeah, they suddenly realize that this is stupid for everyone to go to the one spot. But of course, by then it's sort of like they do let everyone know it's a trap, but the mothership attacks the command center. So it
shoots
kind of
its
like
laser right on top of the shield.
Right on
there.
top of the and
it
kind of breaks through.
That shield gets knocked out badly, and then lots of drones come through.
Yeah,
and it's looking bad. But they get they scramble all of the defense drones themselves, like let's stop calling them both drones. Predators. They call them predators.
They call them predators
and annihilators.
Yeah.
And so they were coming through, and so they scrambled the Grey Eagle Squadron drones.
Yeah.
And there's lots of them. There's not just like 4 spaceships, not warships. There's hundreds.
Yeah.
And so they will go and start fighting that, and they
we have another big battle scene.
And this is where they realize, well, they're winning, or they're slowly breaking through. They're getting closer and closer, and our drones are too far, are not doing the work, and all of our ground troops are too far away. They're going to take too long.
Yeah.
So they crack open the cannon at this point.
Yeah, they get it out.
And geez, it's a big one.
It's huge.
It's big. It's very impressive. And it's just, there's like a lot of people in it.
Yes.
Manning it, doing God knows what. Boiling the kettle, that sort of thing.
And it sends out of the river, and it really sort of something that you normally see in sci-fi spaceships, it sort of ignites from the bottom and powers all, each bit comes on.
The middle bit starts spinning like mirrors. It starts spinning, and this light start reflecting back and forwards inside there. It's very, very anime look, very Japanese animation type of size and scale, and it was quite frankly very impressive.
It was.
The special effects in this, the CGI is genuinely quite good. I think because they largely confined it all to machinery.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the aliens, we never saw biological creatures. It was all machines.
Yeah.
And they tend to be very easy, relatively speaking, to animate. Because if a machine is walking like an animated object, that's what machines walk
That's
like.
Right, yeah. They walk humans can dart around, whereas a robot sort of walks more stagnant.
Weird,
a little bit more square,
and huge cannon comes out.
Yeah. And they needed to fire it because these predators were they're on the ground, they were killing all the soldiers, they were ripping them apart.
They were just about jumping on the cannon, digging their way into that.
Yeah, they were coming into that command center, and it was quite a, later when they attacked, it's not as violent, but in that scene, they're kind of there's a lot of, those old-fashioned, we see the shadow of them stabbing a soldier, throwing them over their head.
And these violent shoves to the side, where someone's running along and then explosion, and they get thrown bodily into the wall.
Lots of that sort of stuff. And the predators, it's they're standing on 2 legs, but they sort of jump and then they flick like a spider does. You know what I mean? They sort of flicked across the room, and the soldiers could just not kind of put a dent
Couldn't get
in
it. Yeah. The guns the soldiers had weren't very effective against the armor anyway.
Yeah.
But it showed that if you got good hits on its vital parts, you kill it even just with a handgun.
Yeah.
But the problem is that these things, they jumped
fast.
and rolled and sprung, and they had 4 arms, so they'd swing off stuff like monkeys, and they'd grab people and throw them about the place. It was terrifying.
Yeah, it was terrifying. It really, that whole concept I liked, because I feel that if in our lifetime something like this happened for real, that's what we would be bloody faced with. It wouldn't be something that's it's technology beyond our own. This is the thing. If a spaceship can come all the way to our planet, they're superior to us, aren't they? And then if they've got these sort of drone creatures, which makes a lot of sense. Why send your own people? Humans are sort of, we're on the precipice of this a bit with our own internal wars of drones and, sending missiles in on people like the Americans have done. And, someone sitting in a computer lab in middle America and firing on someone that looks like the target that they should be hitting with a little missile off a drone. You can imagine, an alien race, if they can get to planets and overtake planets for energy or whatever, their technology is going to be beyond the roof. And why would they send their own people? They would send robots, because you just keep making robots, don't you?
Just new ones.
Yeah, drones, robots, whatever you want to call, predators, annihilators, so you see that kind of thing, and you're and our bullets might do nothing against them.
Well, you could imagine there'd be few enough vital parts. Yeah. Even bullets that pierce through. Yeah. You'd make these things with redundant componentry and so forth. They'd be quite tough.
And they could have such a simple program to them, which is kill and destroy.
Kill anything that's not a...
Kill anything that's not
Because all your robots could just have a little transmitter, a tag on them which says, "Don't kill me." Yeah. And then just kill everything else.
Kill everything else. Anything and everything.
We go to a lot of effort to make our robots not kill people. not because robots want to kill people, although secretly I think they all do, but rather it's just that they're these very strong, heavy mechanical things that if one of these
if they turn around and whack us, we're in trouble.
Machines turns and bumps into you, you've just been hit by a few hundred kilograms of steel.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Again, we could be faced with an alien race that invents that, but they themselves are much bigger than the robot they've invented.
Well, yeah.
So there's no danger to them,
These four-armed critters, these predator drones, weren't, for most of them, weren't that massive. They were similar or smaller than a human.
Yeah.
They had some larger, heavy-duty ones, but for the most part.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyway, they fire this cannon and they hit the spaceship and it rocks and it clearly
Shattered.
did not like that. It was a massive explosion and there was clouds rolling back.
Yeah.
It was
it
was a trailer, mate. It was something that you'd definitely show on the trailer, wouldn't you? That explosion you'd definitely put on the trailer. And the spaceship buggers off.
Yeah.
It
runs away to mummy.
Yeah, it's been unclear as to whether they've been victorious or not, but
It
not
ran
that
away,
hopeful.
They were victorious. If you take old school battles, that was they fled.
They drove them off.
Yeah.
By not surprising, it was a big gun.
Yeah. My gun's bigger than your gun. And the shield gets back to normal.
Yeah, they're putting the shield back together. Although
they power it back together.
They start experiencing some fluctuations and problems with their shield that they quickly manage to patch up.
Yeah.
And we have a bit of another interlude here.
Yeah.
Where this time we're starting to look at the Yang and his attempting to gain the affections of Lin Lang, and they go on a little stroll into the shield generator pylon.
You're jumping.
I'm jumping ahead again.
No, in this interlude, because you're just before that. In this interlude, the four of them go to the hippest nightclub in town.
Oh, that's right. They had the big.
And that's where sorry, I've forgotten her name from the Grey Eagle Squad. She's basically, they have a one-on-one moment where she's like, love.
Ninin,
you should love. Yeah, you should love like you only have 5 minutes left in your life. Like, what if you only have 5 minutes left? And they're sort of, because everyone's celebrating here that they got rid of the mothership.
Yee.
Yeah.
Yee.
Yeah. So they go to this nightclub, and she's like, it's the hippest place in town. And that, what's his name? The motorcycle guy. He says, there was better music at my dad's high school graduation or something like that. And she goes, well, there hasn't been many nightclubs around because of, the situation the world's in. This is as good as it gets, mate. And it's like, that's a fair enough point.
It looked like a pretty cool place.
Looked pretty cool to me, yeah. You and I don't get out that often.
No.
We're trapped in our space.
You'd be surprised at what I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, so they have that moment, and I think the point of that scene anyway was, okay, like they're relaxing and they're being young kids as they should be, but also the fact that she says to him, you should love like you only have 5 minutes left of your life.
Yes, we get a little echo of that back later when they go for their last mission.
Yeah. So they all enjoy some hard-earned freedom at the bar. And he gets the moment with Lin Lan, and which is at the little noodle place.
Noodle shop?
Yeah, so which was nice because she kind of came in a bit dejected and looked a bit down, even though they've won this sort of battle. And he you don't know he's there, and then he sort of bobs up because he's kind of eating the noodles. And this is like, and the joke of the chef is, you would think at the command center you guys would get fed good noodles, and it's like, oh, they're not as good as your noodles, which I like that. It's very true, isn't it? Like this, like you expect these big institutions to have good stuff, but no, the little guy at the little corner is where these guys.
Well, I think also it's that case that part of the flavour of the food is the nostalgia of the environment of it, more so than just the ingredients. It's the love you can taste.
But here, Jai Young takes his moment, doesn't he, with Lin Lan?
Yeah, he gets a bit more forward.
He gets a bit more forward. He gives her the flower for her birthday, and then he basically even has the balls to ask her out. Yeah, so they have a little conversation, and he asks her out, and it's nice because she kind of, again, he gives her the flower, and she kind of like goes, "Thank you."
Yeah, that's nice.
It's a nice flower. but she doesn't give him anything back. You know, she's playing hard to get here. And you kind of then, you know, from a different angle see that she smirks a little, but you don't. She's playing it tough, you know, because like you, she's like thinking this is a bit inappropriate, maybe.
She's got a wonder there about the whole power differential.
So then he alludes to the fact that they kind of going to go on a date, but they're checking the generators.
Yeah,
like you were saying before.
Yeah.
And I never really understood it, but before that, he's in a leather jacket, and then was it Lee or Yi? Yi says, "Oh, I've got another idea," and like then he's in his military.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's trying on different stuff.
Kind of to be cool. Yeah.
But then it's in his dress uniform.
Yeah, which I didn't quite get. I think maybe culturally I'm a bit out of that. I'm not too sure. But anyway, because he's in his like the military, but like ties all loose and he's all cash. And then because she's all cash. So I just didn't get that. I was totally in the dark on that scene.
Yeah.
But they sort of have an actual intimate moment, don't they? So they check the generators and it's going to, he kind of goes, it's going to take some time. Let's talk. We could talk, she
Which
says.
is, of course, we all know that's code for talk.
Talk.
Because this is a Chinese movie.
It is. So it's literally going to be talk. Yeah. And she tells us about her father being in the military and the fact that she didn't get to say goodbye to him. He was at a military post. So she sort of regrets that. It's a regret of her life.
Yeah. I think we've also learned by this stage that the gunnery captain of the cannon who gave her the big rose was just a buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a buddy and they graduated together. And
which is kind of her giving him permission to have a bit of hope.
Yeah.
Which is...
You can have a crack. And that just leads to the next scene, which is cracks start to appear in Shanghai.
Oh, we have some
and
troubles.
the ground starts cracking and things start moving and
the crystals
shifting.
wobble and...
Yeah.
Terrible.
And it kind of goes into, again, like that council with the guy badly dubbed.
Yeah. I've watched my fair share of like Hong Kong movies and Chinese movies, and whenever they have a white actor come on, invariably they're so badly directed. And
they seem to be, don't they?
And the speech is so stilted and robotic.
Even their facial expressions, because there was two white guys in the council, and they're like the guy with the other guy that didn't have any lines. He didn't actually have any dialogue, I don't believe, but he was just kind of like, It'd be like a real close up of him just giving a real sort of like very serious squint of the eyebrows and stuff. But it's bizarre because then the Chinese actors are directed really well. So it's kind of that's what I mean. Like it's like, what are they not? I don't know. I think it's their impression of what that white character would do in that moment.
Or maybe it's a
again, it's
difference in body language and things. So it's like,
I think there's something there because the rest is directed well.
So when the white guy sort of turns and looks a bit odd, like he's not moving his body quite right.
Yeah.
The Chinese guy was going, yeah, that's what white guys look like.
That's what a white guy would exactly do. I'm going to put that in.
And he spoke English. Yeah, white guys speak English.
White guys, he does.
That's close enough.
Yeah, so we'll just dub it in Chinese and then it'll get redubbed back to English when you're watching in English. I don't know. They talk about that the cracks are appearing, and what's actually happening is there seems to be a bit of a weakness in the shield. And that there's an attack on... there's an attack where the weakness of the shield could self-destruct. It could all sort of implode on itself.
Because they're worried about this. The cannon, firing of the cannon was more demanding than they expected. And it was, exposing this... Because they had this concern that using the power for the cannon would draw the power for the shield.
Yeah.
But they're realizing now it's actually more severe than that.
Yeah.
And... all the computer simulations showed it should be okay, but reality is turning out to be a little bit less certain.
Definitely. And so then all of a sudden there's a attack from the mothership, as in a bit of a secret attack. It's not the big mothership laser attack, but it's the weakness in the shield has enabled them to send their drones, their predators in.
Because it's heavy cloud cover. We don't see the mothership this time.
But all of a sudden, these predators are like, they're in the command center and they're like ripping people apart and all that. And they're blowing things up and they're they're having a real crack at that command center, the alien, to try to destroy it, obviously. So it's them showing, which I think is a good thing, because the general, as I said before, the general's the opposite. It's like all of a sudden they've done a military surprise attack. So they've sent in their kind of, it's like behind enemy lines. They've got them behind, and they're the one point. And this is really shows you the power of their robotics or their drones, because inside that command center, the camera, pretty cool, follows like one of them. He's ripping soldiers left, right, and when the Grey Eagle squad kind of rock up, and they're flung around. And it's just one drone, and he's going over the roof, and he's going under things, and he's pulling someone else.
Fast
and he's trying to get into the server, like the main central thing.
Yeah, the controller.
And he kind of like lasers the door and gets in there. And this is where we get, now I don't know, is it? My brain thought Horatio, but it wasn't. That's not very Chinese, is it? But his name was something like that. If you want
I
to
know, I've met a Chinese guy called Calvin.
Yeah, I know.
Another one called Joel. So maybe
this is the motorbike guy. I'm pretty sure. And he kind of is the last defense in that server.
Pan Hanchi.
That's it. That's the guy.
Except, of course, and this is the surprising thing, that you're trying to hear them say that, and it's more like Pan, yeah. And you're like, I didn't get that. Sorry, did you? It's like it's written,
I presume Horatio.
Pan Horatio.
So he kind of like, they're telling, stop the server, and he like crashes the server or something like that. Like he deliberately breaks the server as the drone is there trying to like download it, or I don't know, or something like that. He's it was turn off the server.
It was a bit confusing as to exactly what they're trying to do.
It was a little and then the others ran in, and of course the drone stabs him and sort of throws him over the computer, and the others are like, no, and they manage to destroy, blow that drone a bit.
Pin its arm to the side, and then get a gun right in close.
Which kills it. But then within that, because of all the action of trying to stop the server, it's like a self-destruct mechanism has been activated. And so they all like run out of that command center, and it boom.
Yeah, that's a bit of a boom. Again, I was a little bit confused exactly what had happened there, but except it wasn't really important to exactly what happened.
No.
Enough damage was done basically.
Yeah, and we have a death of one of the
Grey
Eagle squadron.
One Grey Eagle squadron. The one who was sort of had a bit of a relationship with the female in there.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't overtly said, except it was kind of hinted that this wife that he wanted to ride a motorcycle with was her.
Yeah.
Because he had this dream of her riding the motorbike with him.
So anyway, obviously there's another little reprieve, and the city mourns its losses. Like all these soldiers that have died in this attack, in this battle. And of course the main characters are mourning Horatio's loss.
Horatio knew him well.
Yeah, so they sort of mourn the fact that he's gone, and there's a candle vigil kind of in the city street or something, and they kind of go, they have a moment, they do have a moment, where they're all contemplating their own future. So then we cut to the general. He has a battle plan. He's got an idea.
We have one last, because they're going to say, we're going to have to just leave Shanghai.
Yeah.
Like that's it, we're done.
Yeah.
And
there's another debate.
Everyone's sort of going, well, that's cool, but where do we go? Like we don't really have anything else. So the general has his last battle plans.
Yeah.
And it was really pointed out now that the shield is failing.
Yeah.
And they certainly can't run the shield now and have this cannon. So he's got his battle plans. Does he actually tell us what the battle plans are? Or is it just like we have battle plans and then the ship turns up and they get into it? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think...
because he says, we're going to be here at the control room. We need someone to destruct the crystals.
Well, I think in that, first of all, in that scene, he's just saying... Because I think he says we need to evacuate everyone. Like the citizens need to evacuate. But what we need to do is like... We'll put all the energy so the shield won't work. I think what's just told to us is like he wants to put all the energy into the cannon.
Yeah.
So turn off the shield.
But
but beyond that, we're not really told everything.
We're going to use the new XR-51 Grey Eagle Squadron fighters, and the drones as the shield.
Yeah, and so anyway, you're right. Like we don't see his whole plan, but he's saying this is.
And we're not even sure what this Grey Eagle Squadron, like. He thought, well, hang on, if the drones weren't
working,
then what are they talking about? This they got some other weapon that they're going to use.
They do. They use other arsenal. So we see military getting. There's a bit of a montage. We see the military getting ready. We see the city being evacuated very calmly, as I said at the start tonight. They're all sort of and it's really like again, culturally it's quite different. It's like. You need to leave the city, and don't worry, it's only a short amount of time, and you will return.
Yes, we will return.
You will return back to your homes. It's like, it's just a very different scenario to what we see in the Western movies. It's like, run! Run for your life! You're not coming back! Like, take what you've got!
See,
because
military
if you don't,
guys
looters will take it, like...
Waving everyone on.
Yeah. But here it's just like, politely leave as one of those big, great orange roadwork signs sort of saying, go this way. And they all do. They all do. It's very nice, actually. And it's basically a fight to the death. You get the impression it's a fight to the death.
Yeah, this is the last.
This is the last hurrah. And the command center, he has all these agents. They're all on these sort of digital machines. And the general says, we are going to shut the shield down, and we will be the first target.
We will shut the shutters and sit in the shop.
Yep. And they all agree to this, and they all get to work, and the shield collapses so that energy can be sent to the cannon. And we
sure enough, as soon as it does, come through the drones,
the predators, and annihilators,
roaring through, and they just go straight.
And they just blow it up. We don't even have. I thought there was going to be a fight scene, but they just blow the shit out.
They ripped it to pieces.
They're like, okay, you've opened up the shield, no worries.
They launched these new aircraft that, in fact, this is what the Grey Eagle Squadron were training for in the start, which seems to be these this weird UFO things that they sit in personally, and they each have some sort of major squadron of drones. And they've all been trained, and it's sort of been hinted at here before about their neuro reflexes and stuff. They've all been trained to be able to operate many things at once. So they're not just controlling a drone, they're flying and they're leading a whole squadron of drones.
And their ships their aeroplanes are quite powerful. They've got a special laser, and
I think they've got these magic crystals in them.
Yeah, I think so. So they're sort of flying that, and they've got 20 or 30 drones around.
It's a very impressive aerial fight. Fleet. Huge, massive missile. Again, it very, very reminds me of this Macross saga. You should watch it. I guess.
So this whole sort of battle scene unfolds where, of course, all these predators and annihilators are flying from the mothership, and they're kind of annihilating a lot of them, but a lot are getting through.
Yeah, they can't quite keep up with the strain.
They can't quite keep up. They're sort of trying to keep them back because obviously the shield's down. The command center, the general sacrifices himself, and it just gets blown apart. And then basically, I think Linland says to them, you need to now protect the base, like the cannon base. Yeah.
Yeah, because the cannon's charging up, trying to get a good shot.
Yeah.
And then at a key moment when lots of bad guys come for the cannon, it lines up and it fires, and it's like kaboom! It's this huge, big explosion. There's all this ash falls out of the sky, and it glows. It's an incredible sight.
Yes.
And it's silent for a moment.
Yeah.
And then the smoke and the clouds and all this ash sort of clears, and you realise that the mothership had actually drawn up all of its predator drones in front of the laser, and all that stuff falling out of the sky were all of these drones falling from the sky, and the ship.
So it protected the mothership from any damage.
They learnt from the last laser attack. But now it's kind of a bit open to attack because most of its defences have been destroyed.
Yeah.
Which is great because we need this little bit of extra help. So the fight's back on.
But at the same time, some of the drones and that are they're getting closer to the energy source, aren't they? They're to Linland.
Yeah, they're digging their way in.
They're digging their way in.
Through
they're sort of smashing through that base.
They've gone past the first line of defense, had to fall back, and the second and third, they're inside, it looks like a big warehouse with an elevator shaft.
And we have, it's not Jai Young, is it? It's the other guy. He tried to save them, and then he's crashed, and then he No, it is Jai Yang.
Yeah,
sorry.
he's Yang,
and
like,
he's fighting one. You know, like he has a manual fight with a couple of these robots, doesn't he?
Gets in close and
he's really
personal.
close and personal, and he gets flung around, but he also like fires them, and then another one comes over the top of him, and he fires them, and then we have a moment that they're kind of losing. All the soldiers are kind of getting annihilated, and Lu Yi, that one, is she has a moment, and she's like a flashback to Horatio, I believe.
Yes.
And
it's not about being, what is it? It's not about being brave. It's about not letting it affect you or something.
Yeah,
or...
and she sort of smiles.
Oh, no, think about, your happy place or something?
Yeah, something like that. She has a moment anyway as these things are kind of descending, and if they get past her, they're going to get to the energy source. And then she smiles, and this surprised me because I just wasn't expecting her to. Then she has this like special grenade and boom, annihilates them all. That are like, commands the whole base so they can't get entrance into there.
So that's self-sacrifice number 3.
Yeah, so that's also, as you said, the cannons fired and failed.
They're recharging.
And the thing with that as well is the guy controlling the cannon. He's like, in the aftermath of it all, we've lost our guidance system.
Oh yeah, no.
So because they like have another shot, and he's like, I can't get it onto the mothership. And then so Linlan is saying, we've got to use all the energy to destroy everything, Shanghai.
Yeah,
we're just gonna like rip it out. We're gonna like wipe it out of this, so that. And I mean, my interpretation of that, I don't know what yours was, but mine was kind of like, are they annihilating Shanghai so the aliens just can't get it? Or are they annihilating it to annihilate the aliens?
I got the idea as sort of like they're taking the bat and ball and going home.
Yeah.
So, because I guess they don't, if the alien has gone to this sort of extent to get a hold of this energy source, maybe they don't want the alien to get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
Because perhaps that'll be even worse.
You're not getting this either.
Yeah. Maybe it's also the case that if it's all gone, they'll just leave.
Shanghai, and I guess that's the thing. All the citizens have been evacuated. So anyway, Linlan kind of pushes the red buzzer that starts making the crystal, rip apart.
Yeah, the big cave starts collapsing, and
she's self-sacrificing.
She's number
herself.
4. Number 4 to go.
Yeah, which Jai Yang is like, no, I never got to. We just had a talk.
Yeah, we got to. It was a good talk.
It was a good talk, and I really enjoyed the talk. But
it wasn't that good a talk.
I would have preferred the talk to have something else in the talk.
Yeah, maybe go for a picnic or something.
Yeah, at least have a little bit of grass somewhere. And the predators at the same time are controlling. Oh, sorry, they're getting closer to the cannon control room, like physically. They're on the ground, they're in there, they're annihilating the soldiers. So, of course, if they get in there and shut off the cannon, means they've got no chance. And then we're having this amazing scene of, like, Shanghai, as we know it, collapsing in upon itself.
Oh, yeah, incredible. These buildings falling. And it was an amazing bit of graphic work there.
Oh, yeah. Because, like, even the river, like, became rock beds and, real tectonic plates kind of shit. Things were moving.
And again, because it was all sort of geography and buildings, it looked photorealistic. It looked amazing. Fantastic.
Yeah. And in fact, like we might talk about it later, but like even when those annihilators attacked that second time, like some of them hit some of those buildings, and I thought that CGI was really cool. Like you had like little fireballs going off on buildings and stuff. That amazing building in Shanghai that's got the sort of hole in the middle. It sort of got hit by one. There's a bit of fire.
Although I noticed they didn't. Yeah, their iconic was that their sphere on the stick.
Yeah, that never got hit.
That was because that's how you know it's Shanghai, right?
Yeah.
It's like you see that it's Shanghai.
Well, to me, it's that, and then the building with the hole in the middle.
Yeah.
Which is like an architectural, amazing thing that they've done there. Anyway, so Shanghai is sinking. Linlan, then we have a moment. As I said, she destroys. It collapses in on her, and.
The last guy.
The last soldier, the last Grey Eagle guy, what's his name?
Wow, I'm going to go with Zheng Yu.
Yeah, he decides, they really quickly realise, because way back at the start, they had done as a bit of a manoeuvre, I think, hadn't they? And it was like, he's like, I need to be the bait again. so that the cannon has something to shoot at.
Yes, there's a track on my infrared beacon or something.
So he kind of like goes straight at the mothership. I mean, a little bit again like Independence Day.
Yeah.
Like Will Smith goes, I'm going to go right in there to self-destruct it. So he's going right in, and so that way the cannon has something to target. And at that last minute, and he's kind of going in real, bazookas flying, take that, I'm just going to give you everything I've got. And he makes a little dent, and the cannon fires, of course, and hits him and the mothership.
Hits the mothership finally.
Right in the sweet spot.
Right in its crystal.
Yeah.
Oh, me crystal!
Oh, no. And it just, like it dies, basically.
We get an even bigger explosion. This is like, every time this thing fires, we get something impressive, and this was no different.
Yeah, and again, very Independence Day, this ship kind of, this massive thing in the sky, like falling down to Earth. And they didn't bother to show the whole thing. It kind of, is collapsing, and then they went into the smoke, and then it's 5 years later.
5 years later, yes.
And they're commemorating their win against the aliens.
And we can see the city's being rebuilt.
Yeah, and they're telling us that. They're like, Shanghai is kind of, getting back together. This great city is getting back to its roots. And we can see the painters and the
getting back to the roots
workers
because the roots have been exposed
Yes.
by collapsing ground.
That's right, yeah. So they've fixed all that. And the city's a bit different looking. Still has that sphere, but there's some more modern, futuristic looking buildings.
It's got that those smooth, rounded...
Yeah. A bit more electronic signs. Yeah, a bit more going on. And anyway, they're commemorating that win. And Jia Young is now the general.
Oh,
Must be the youngest general in Chinese history.
Because he looks like a maybe 16-year-old.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he's just beat babyface. He's probably 20 or something.
And to me, there's like a whole nother story in that. It's like some of those other soldiers would be like, he's not a bloody general. He's only like 20. Just because he was the one that was left standing. I think there would be a little bit of it again in the West. There would be a little bit of.
Did he actually exhibit leadership qualities?
We don't believe in heroes. We believe in working as a team. I don't know.
It was a political maneuver.
I think so.
So maybe he's not a combat general. Maybe he's one of these attaché generals, like a.
Well, he was combat, but it just doesn't make sense.
He's
so young.
A political general. A figurehead general, as opposed to someone like the guy who originally commanded, who was a grizzled war veteran of some sort.
So then after that they returned to his home, which is all being painted and renovated and stuff. And the soldier says to him, it's pretty much the same as it was 5 years ago. And he sort of wanders around and reflects on things and thinks about Lin.
And he remembers when he was recruiting.
Yeah.
And he's filling in the application form. The reason he chose Shanghai was because that's where Lin Lang was stationed.
Yeah. But we have this moment where he, they also, we didn't say it before, but before the big battle, they all put stuff into a box.
Oh,
that was going to live for 100 years.
Yeah, that's that whole love like you got 5 minutes. And so he sends that text, I love you.
And the text failed at the time. And the phone says... The brick phone says, we'll retire when possible. You're thinking, well, if it's the end of the world, I don't think it's going to keep retrying. But it's not the end of the world. So obviously the phone kept retrying. And the nice little moment here is, of course, is his phone. He looks at his phone and it was like, oh, the message was successfully sent. But then there's also a reply from Lin Lan. So it's like...
Or her last message anyway.
Yeah, which it was. But in this moment, 5 years in the future, it's like, oh, that's from the grave, really. Like her message is coming through now because he's just... recharged his phone. I liked all that because it's very now, isn't it? Kids now would identify with that.
It's a time capsule arrangement that is modernized.
Yeah, because you and I at our age, it's like with our wives or girlfriends or whatever back in the day. You took them on dates and you might have
clay tablet.
Yeah, clay tablet.
Smoke
a bird that like chips into the wall or something like that to send them a message, those sort of things. So it's nice to I thought this was very modern, in that way. So that's nice. And obviously he then I think he replies good night and sleep well, and then it's like sending. So that's a nice little ending to the film.
It was again there's a lot of people died, killed themselves.
A lot of people sacrifice.
Which, again, I think this is...
I think it's cultural.
It is cultural because The Wandering Earth had a fair bit more than just a single self-sacrifice in it as well. It's not like, I guess, Armageddon where just the one guy rides the nuclear bomb to detonation.
Ooh, yeah, I think that is a cultural thing. I think there's a very... We've looked at... I mean, look, I haven't watched heaps of Chinese films over the years. I've watched a few, but if we just do take the two we've talked about, Wandering Earth and this one, there is uniquely some sort of theme in these films, which again, it should be. Like if you take an Australian film versus American film, they are very different. I mean, there's the Western elements, of course, but there has to be a kind of voice that is Australian in the Australian film, and then in the American, and it's just that we get bombarded with Hollywood films, so we're used to the hero and all this sort of stuff. Quite often you look at Australian films and they don't necessarily have that happy ending, and that's what people complain about. They don't have. They have a bit more of a like, yeah, well that's what it's like, like they're a bit more of a realistic end. Hollywood films always have that nice resolution, Even if the hero dies in a Hollywood film, there's still something nice at the end of the film.
Yeah, something important about it. Yeah.
If you take Bollywood, no matter what, at the end of the film, no matter good and bad that's happened in a Bollywood film, they finish with a song. Like there's a song at the end of every Bollywood film. It doesn't matter how brutal the film has been. There is a song, because that's what Indian culture expects from their stories. They expect a happy song at the end of it.
You watch British TV shows, they'll always have a song in the middle.
Yep.
Like a talk show.
Yep.
And then I just have like a song in the middle, and it's like, what's this all about?
What the hell is that? I think in Australia we're far more cynical about a lot of these things. Our underdog culture and also tall poppy culture. Like we don't like that happy ending, or we perceive that we don't like that happy ending. Anyway, and my whole point here is that I think looking at these two Chinese films is that, of course, there is a solid theme of the world is in trouble. In China, they would address that problem as in, right, we need to work together. This is our solution, and we're going to work together as a team, and that's how.
Yeah, the problem is larger than an individual.
Yeah. And the only way to overcome it is that we have to work as a team. You're not going to have an individual. You can't go rogue on this shit. The only way we're going to beat this is individual. In American version of this, Independence Day, you need someone like Will Smith to go, nah, we're going to do this. And that's going to, and that's a really bad Will Smith impersonation, but we're going to go off and do
not Will Smith. That's
like
Bugs Bunny.
It is a bit of Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, what's up, dog?
That's right. Well, I'm Australian. I don't have that in me.
Okay.
So that's the concept that I think there's a political theme coming through there.
So where would you place this on your ladder?
Look, again, we look at this very positively, and it is a ladder. It's not top bottom.
I always think it's a bit unfortunate that we have to. Yeah, it's hard sometimes to rank. I think they need to be in sort of groups, and they change based on their mood.
But I think if we go back to the essence that you and I talked about spacebrains, and we said it's not ranking them like rungs of a ladder. Like the idea is it's just a rung on a ladder. Like it's just a thing, and maybe this one has some better things than another one. But it's not so much like best to worst, I suppose that's what I want to say. And I will put this one at the bottom rung of my ladder.
Yeah.
Not meaning that it's this worst movie ever, but just that comparing it to the other films I looked at,
I have
that's the
seen
rung.
a lot worse movies.
Yeah, me too.
That's no problem.
I mean,
it was a beautiful movie. If you like your action with shooting and robots and explosions. Yeah. It's fantastic. There's some touching, moving human moments in there. It's a bit inexplicable, I think, some of the translation maybe from the book
that might be a bit
into novel, into movie, and also into English. You kind of get a little bit disjunction there, but so I'll put it down the bottom there based on my tendency to rewatch or have maybe a computer-based agenda on some of my other films that I watch.
I'd be interested in, I wonder if you can get this book in English. Like I'd sort of, because I think the concept's cool. Like the concept's really cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I have a feeling that the book probably covers a bit more about the power source and its effect. I said that at the start, like I was interested in like, well, where did this thing come from? Is there a bit more description about that? And I guess I can totally understand a movie because like, well, you can't tell all this backstory because that's a real no-no. You got to get to the action.
And again, that if you want to watch it, this film does get to the action really quickly, doesn't it? I mean, we have like the mothership rocks up in that first 20 minutes and it's attacking them, and we have the drones and we have everything happening in that first first 20 minutes. Like, they're not delaying it, are they? So for me, I'm just putting it at that bottom rung, more so because I felt like I wanted a bit more emotional of attachment to the characters. I think their characters were interesting, but I wanted a bit more for me as an audience member to connect to. Yeah. I didn't completely connect to those characters, but it was there. You know what I mean? But I think if you are someone into CGI, this is a really cool film to look at.
Some of this anime type action, like, it definitely reminded me of these space dogfights that you're seeing.
And even if you're a gamer, like, I think this is the kind of, if you're into that kind of gaming, you know what I mean, like battles and explosions and stuff, like, far out, like, this really crosses into that path, you know. And I think that's always the difference here is, like, you're dealing with an alien that it is drones and robots. You're not dealing with, you know, like alien, like a bloodthirsting, you know, creature. Like, this is sci-fi action, hey? Like, this is like really in that battle mode, you know?
Yeah, that's military sci-fi type of stuff.
Yeah. So it's interesting, that kind of thing. So
best scene,
worst scene. Yeah, because we've done that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna throw in the. I think maybe it's that extended scene where Yang has crashed. So he knocked a predator off Yi's wing, and then he sort of crashed, and he joins the defense of the second or third line of defense.
Yep.
And there's this whole action sequence of these predators coming in and soldiers fighting, and there's so many people involved in that, and so much action going on everywhere. Like, it's not just this one predator that is in the foreground, but in the background you're seeing guys doing stuff, and it's fully choreographed. It's the whole thing is a complete production. It was very, very exciting. Made me think that maybe they all should have had those big guns that they the one that Yang gets a hold of and blows a couple away with. It's like, you know, why don't they all have those guns?
They all needed those guns.
What are they doing with these silly machine guns? It's pointless. But it was a great little action sequence, which all, you know, because everyone kept falling back around this sort of elevator, until Yi was there, and
she was the last like, woman standing.
Reminiscent of zombie films where the zombie horde is collapsing on the person, and they realise that their fate is sealed.
Yeah.
And so they pull the pin on the grenade. Yeah, and it even took a couple of goes before her finger got around it just to draw it out a bit more. Boom. It was just that beautiful choreography going from dogfight, aerial combat to crash landing down, and then he's out in action, hand to hand, up close, and then we have this sacrifice moment at the end. It's such a nice complete arc of action from like different types of fighting, different types of robots,
and you've reminded me, like, because he kind of crashes in this pod thing, doesn't he, you know, and it's like, and he's flung out of that pod. And but the minute he's flung out, he, like, you know, he somersaults and kind of gets his bearings for like less than a fraction of a second, and then there's a thing on top of him, isn't it? You know, he's got to pick up a rifle and shoot it, and, you know, the thing hunts him and chases him around. And meanwhile, as you said, like, soldiers are being flung around and shot and stabbed and all sorts of
that would have taken
action sequences.
So long to choreograph.
Yeah, and I think the budget of this film was pretty big, but like, that's where the money went. You know, like,
it was a number on that. No.
I don't have a specific number, but in that, I think they expected this film to be a real big blockbuster.
It would have been big, like the quality of the graphics and the number of extras. I imagine extras are probably cheaper in China.
Yeah. But still, they had a lot of them.
But there were a lot, and they were all in costume.
Yeah.
They all had guns, and that fight scene that I'm talking about here is there were stacks of things going on.
Yeah.
The whole...
Constantly. Choreography was amazing.
Yeah, every person would have had to have been given direction.
Yep.
And because they're using... it looked like they actually had blanks.
Yeah.
As opposed to CGI sort of bullets. So all of that would have had to have been carefully staged and arranged. You can't just have people shooting
that
blanks
kind of
off left and right.
Choreography takes a lot. Like, when you've got, like, your lead has to do some stuff in the foreground, and then in the background, you've got a bunch of extras, you know, being hurt as well and having all sorts of stunts and explosions.
I imagine
stuff
they probably
it takes a long time.
They probably did layer it though. I'm thinking about it, because if you wouldn't want to have it all the background all going, and then the lead trips over and bumps his head and goes, "Ooh!"
No, but
ouch.
that's how you have to do it. That's how you have to do it. If it's the one shot, you're not layering that stuff like.
Really? I would have done the back and then put it in green screen.
No. Because that doesn't look that great.
Well, I don't know.
You've got to shoot it.
When I say I don't know, I mean actually, yeah, I don't.
No, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's same in Hollywood. Like, you've got to shoot that stuff has to be shot live, and that's why quite often you'll have, the lead. Oh, it gets pulled into this room and it's on a one-on-one battle, and it's like everyone's like, oh, that's a cool battle. But I'm thinking, yeah, but it would have been kind of cooler in front of all those other dudes, and that's what they've done in this movie.
But the director and the choreographer are going, thank God, can we draw this out? Draw this one out of here.
Do you know how long it took us to make Keanu Reeves fight Lawrence Fishburne in The Matrix? That was like 3 months just to get that one scene. It's like, and you want extras in you want extras fighting in the background? Yeah, I want
Actually,
extras.
Speaking of that, I was watching an amazing demonstration of this new replacement for green screen technology.
Right.
Which are basically big LCD displays.
Yeah.
Which wrap around the actor in 3 walls of a room, basically, and then they map a 3D environment onto those screens. And they're saying it beats green screen because the actors can actually respond to those environments.
Yeah.
And the example I have in there is sort of a small version of what Disney's using. It's the Disney thing they're using in their they've used it in Solo movie and also the new Star Wars series that they're doing.
Yeah.
But the demo on YouTube, I can't remember what it's called now. The demo on YouTube is just like a guy walked up to a motorbike and gets on and sort of puts his helmet on, and that's sort of it. But the camera's moving around and you're getting full 3D parallax of the background because the camera is mapped to the 3D backdrops.
Yeah.
So the ground has got real dirt and a couple of rocks and a motorbike, but all the rest of it is 3D environment. And it was incredible. And they just changed the day. They showed how they just changed the lighting to make it look like day or night, because the light rig is also mapped into the 3D virtual world.
Yeah.
So when they change the lighting on the light rig, it changes the lighting in the 3D world.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're saying that this is sort of next level green screen stuff because at the moment, because of the size of these panels, it's very expensive to make.
Yeah.
Because you imagine a TV screen,
a
super high resolution TV screen, the size of a billboard.
Yeah.
Or a studio stage, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the advantage, as I said, is unlike in say, what are we talking about? That Avatar. In Avatar, they use this technology where they'd actually like put little screens which were mapped, and they could check to see what the 3D environment looked like.
Yeah.
But it was still just green screen.
Yeah.
This one is the next thing here, where they've actually put those screens out, and that's all around. So they'll be able to have action occurring on these images, and a car crash or something in the background, and the actors could respond to it in real time, more realistically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also reflection. They showed like reflections off his sunglasses. He put sunglasses on, and so of course you get reflection, and you get reflection of what looks like the rocks and the stuff in the background. But it's actually a reflection of the screen.
And then you're filming that, so you're filming it more live again.
Yeah, so it's more live, and you can choose angles and things.
Yeah, and the actors can relate to that.
So that was quite incredible.
Yeah. And I'd told you about that thing from Sony where they're sort of like they want to digitally map icons, like maybe the Statue of Liberty, for example, but it could also just be a room, a studio, or set, and then that way they can replicate that just totally digitally. So that it's not like what you're saying where the actors can see it, but it's such high quality that the directors and the cinematographers can decide, oh, well, right now we want you're the actor, we want you to be there and the background is there and it's a close-up of you, but in fact I want the background to be taller or smaller, or I want it to be a low angle, so therefore it's not like just a green screen with footage of the Statue of Liberty. It's now that they can move the Statue of Liberty to make it look more realistic. So you're at the foot or at the head, and so they digitally map it. And it takes a hell of a lot of time to do that, but then they can move it digitally, so it's not just a picture of the Statue of Liberty. It's like this 3D model of
it.
And
I guess they can address the setting as well. Like, so you're sitting in his office, you go, would he have a red water bottle next to him, or would it be a green pencil case?
There. Yeah. And that's a little bit more, when I heard that talk from that Richard Goyder guy from Sony, it's like, it's about cheaper for smaller budget films stuff.
You mix that then with the deep fake type stuff where there's a company they're working, special effects company, they're working with this director and producer to produce this movie. I can't remember the name of the movie now, but it's a bit of a gimmick, I think, really. They're using James Dean.
Right.
James Dean will star in this film. So they've actually got a body double, basically, who's going to wear a motion capture type suit and in some fashion. And they're basically going to have James Dean in there, which I can't think of any reason why you'd want to have that.
Yeah.
But except they're showing off their tech, basically. But it is getting to that point where you might have two varieties of actors: the physical actor,
and then
the looks and voice actor.
Yeah.
So the physical actor can do all the characterful facial expressions to capture the movements really accurately, and is physically jumping and fighting and rolling and whatever.
Yep.
Or just expressing, emoting very effectively. And then you get someone else who's got like the right sort of voice and tone and looks, and you put the looks and the voice over top of the physical guy.
Yeah.
Which also paves the way then for virtual actors, where the actor themselves never existed. You just have people whose job it is to model and pose all the different facial expressions and movements, and then
create a fictional,
chop and change them into a fictional character that looks photorealistic.
Yes. Yep.
And then what's going to happen to actors?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's a weird thing.
It'll go back around, and plays will become the big thing, because now you've got a real live. It's not just a real actor, but you got a real actor standing directly in front of you.
Yeah, but even when that digital world happens, I don't think every film will use that. I can't see every. Like, it will be a novelty of things, but I don't think it'll
be another tool in the case. Like, now, for example, we do have the computer animation and all sorts of things, but there's still. You look at I Am Mother, for example, where there were some scenes where I Am Mother, the mother robot, was entirely CGI.
Yep.
In fact, I was watching a bit, and they're saying when Mother was walking, holding the hands of the toddler daughter, that was actually entirely CGI, because the toddler, oddly enough, was afraid to hold hands. It wasn't acting well, holding hands with this robot. So they actually just got her mother to hold her hand and walk with her, and then they put the CGI over top. But you'd never know. But at the same time, Mother Robot was entirely physical
as well.
Bit of equipment with an actor and a different voice actor doing it. So you sort of got all of those things.
Facets, all tools.
And that's why initially you'll get these gimmicks like putting James Dean in. What the hell?
Yeah.
But it'll get to the point where it's more the case of you'll use the real live actor where they work the best, and where you don't really need them. Like, you imagine a lot of these action scenes, as much as Jackie Chan and Tom Cruise love to do their own stunts, it is very risky and very expensive.
Yeah.
Whereas you can then just very cheaply put in a digital actor to be wrecked in a car crash, fall out of a plane or whatever, and you don't have to worry about insurance, or don't care how good the stunt person is. Jackie Chan's broken his arm and leg and just about died a couple of times. Tom Cruise has had troubles. Yeah, it's just what's going to be used.
Well, you don't have to pay the insurance. Why? Well, I'm not going to pay the insurance, am I? We just don't do it. We just do that scene digitally. Like, who cares? And I just actually heard recently that one of the producers behind, the Dark Crystal, the Netflix TV show, and she was talking a lot about that, them, utilizing puppetry but CGI, like utilizing both, and I think she said those exact words, that they're just tools for the creators to use. We still used a lot of puppetry. But then in some moments, the CGI just makes it if you utilize that tool, why not?
It solves certain problems that
But even she said, like, it was funny that the audience wanted the puppetry as well. Like, it was a crossover.
Yeah,
like, we could just do it CGI now in 2019 or 2018.
I was a bit disappointed with the amount of CGI there because I was.
We can do puppets. Like, okay.
Like, so I remember some of the critters from the original movie.
The original movie, yeah.
I think were made more
they were all
exciting or
puppets.
terrifying because they were these
Puppets.
sort of puppets, and they, as such, they kind of like those weird crab things, whatever they're called, and the striders, which were dudes with stilts on their legs.
Yeah.
And, they sort of CGI'd those.
Made it creepier in the original.
And they were more fantastic, I think.
Yeah. So what about the science? Sorry, what do you want to pick on in any of the science? Or have we just covered it?
Well, I was going to talk about force fields because force fields are always very cool. But I really liked all this the CGI sort of stuff that's going on there. And there's a great YouTube channel. What are they called? Oh man, I knew it just before. Anyway, this is a great CGI channel. I'll try to come up with a note and chuck it in the notes or something because I'm not going to sit here and try and figure it out.
No, there's a great
Yeah,
CGI. YouTube.
they go through. They have, for example, ones where they compare good to bad CGI and point out the subtleties that make it good. One really good one they did that you definitely Google it is they improved the Scorpion King. I don't know if you saw the Scorpion King with the Rock's sort of first appearance on screen.
Yeah.
And it came in as this computer animated scorpion monster. And I remember watching it going, that looks terrible. It was a good enough movie, entertaining movie, the Mummy 2, Scorpion King. But when he comes out of this door opens and he comes out, he sort of looks plastic and it's dreadful. So they actually take that original footage and using their own post-production tools, upgrade it. So they added some dust flecks and they changed some of the lighting and they actually used the deep fake technology to take the Rock real face and put it on top of the CGI character. And it's remarkable that you get this far more like really realistic looking CGI character by doing a deep fake from a real actor onto it, which is really quite strange.
Yeah.
But so they've also got another one where they redo Home Alone as an R-rated movie, and that's really good. They added in like a whole lot of some of these injuries that these people receive. They added a whole lot more gore and danger.
Violence to it.
and these guys, they're doing it. This is I say part time, but they're professional special effects guys, but they're doing this channel as a side to their actual business. So they're doing it in like over a weekend type of thing. And what they what they can do over a weekend, these 5 guys, it's incredible. Yeah, so definitely check that out. And that's there'll be other shows we can talk about force fields because there's some pretty interesting details about how force fields might exist.
Yeah, definitely. And this film explores that with the defense of Shanghai.
Yeah. And we're going to need force fields. If we're going to have a science fiction spaceship that flies about a place, you need force fields.
We're in trouble. Yeah.
Well, when you look at Passengers, our very first film we did, it's flying along and it had like some sort of force field knocking the asteroids aside, but it's less than too big, in which case, you wake up and not too bad. You meet Jennifer Lawrence. She's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I mean, really, when you think about like technically that one meteor woke up one passenger, I mean, come on, it's not that bad.
No.
In the success rate, wouldn't it? In the numbers game, the algorithm would be pretty happy with that, I think.
So, anything more you want to add?
Well, I think I mentioned, Lin Lin played by Shuqi, or Ki. I'm going to again say that. She just, the whole movie I was kind of thinking, she's ace in this, and afterwards I looked her up and she's got a little tidbit. She's got a couple of little tidbits, but one little thing is, her agent pulled her out from playing. She was supposed to be in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which would have maybe netted her an Oscar.
Oh, wow.
And her agent...
Born in 1976.
Okay, she's a bit older, but her agent pulled her out of that. So she fired him, of course, for a TV ad. So she could have had an Oscar.
Would have been international renown.
Yeah, internationally renowned beyond it. She's been in quite a bit of different stuff. Because that was the thing that she stood out to me like, geez, your acting's good. And if I think about that, I'm like, oh man, she could have been in that film. And yeah, apparently she rose to fame doing some sort of soft-core porn, which I don't really understand what that is. Maybe like teenage lusty films.
She starred in Derek Yee's 1996 film Viva Erotica, which was about the erotic film industry in Hong Kong.
Okay. So maybe just kind of MA porn sort of thing. So not like really porn, but just...
So would have talked...
Lots of talking.
And maybe shook someone's hand.
Yeah. Maybe she hugged someone. Okay. But anyway, I really thought her acting was cool. Yeah, the camera was really technically...
she was in Sex and Zen too. That might be it as well.
That might be it, yeah. The camera was really professional. It was very technical, but we didn't kind of get anything arty-farty. We've talked about that theme. I reckon the Chinese sci-fi is grouped together. And yeah, the Predators were just so cool, I reckon. I really liked the Predators. That was a really major, big thing for me, was those robots. I reckon they were great. So that probably brings us to the end. So what did you think out there in the world, if you're listening to Space Brains on Shanghai Fortress? It's just, my brain was dulling there for a second. Let us know what you thought about Shanghai Fortress and also what we've talked about tonight. Like, did you have some favourite scenes? What did you think was good? What science did you take away from this?
You like a bit of the tech? You can get us at Space Brains Pod on Twitter, at Space Brains Podcast on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
Or at Gravity Undone.
You definitely can. And I don't think we have a film for next week, do we? Yet have we? I've not thought of one.
And next week's film, The Space Between Us.
Okay, The Space Between Us. It'll be episode 22.
Oh, it's got Gary Oldman in it.
Ah.
I do like a bit of Oldman.
I do like Oldman. He was in Tao. He was the voice of Tao.
Is one of my favourites in Fifth Element.
Yeah, of course. Actually, that's a good one that we need to do as a classic.
Well, yeah, I know. There's too many classics. Maybe we'll have to have a classic session. So anyway, in the meantime, enjoy your sci-fi, and we'll see you later.
See ya.